Hello everyone. This is Unit 6 final project. And again, my name is Abel Mendoza. Um, this project is the unified presentation of all the projects that started throughout this course for the Department of Business for California Intercontinental University. And the course is the MGT450, which is the project management for managers. The professor is Charlie Williams, and today is November 8th of 2020. The key takeaways on this project are project management, share professional knowledge and resources. PMs also maintain a project focus. When resources are limited, establishing priorities is essential in project management. Employ the forward and backward pass strategy to visualize the entire project scope. It's another relevant key takeaway in this presentation. Uh, in the key takeaways continue, we also have the critical path or paths that are revealed when the forward and backward paths are employed. Critical paths need to be established in order to determine the zero slack tolerance. Crashing a project by outsourcing can assert in completing a project on time. Other two takeaways are to determine what the penalty clause is before accepting a project. This is really relevant because you want to know if there is any associated um, fee or penalty if the project is not completed on time. And of course, the preliminary data can assert in forecasting a project. This is on preliminary data only to forecast. The last key takeaways are only use real data to compute project activities. And then, of course, the management by wandering around is an essential management work style that asserts in building strong ties, which are important relationships in project management. We need to also obtain trust from those key individuals, key players in each project. It asserts on promoting fruitful collaboration as well and make work friendlier as opposed to stressful when you micromanage. On week number one, we have learned that Consulting is a case study in which the lifestyle cycle, strategy, and value of this entity is analyzed. The title was Analyzing a Project Management Endeavor. Uh, Managing the right priority levels is essential in project management, of course. This endeavor can assert in being efficient and eliminating barriers on each project and at the same time adhere to the company's mission. At Horizon Consulting, the this was the norm as well. On the other hand, when employing the exemplary project management implementation for their projects, matrix management appears to be the engine that moves the operation of each project at Horizon Consulting. As a result, project managers share personnel and resources across the firm's multiple projects while maintaining a project-focused approach, thus alluding to what is essential and least to deal with in a long list of things to do as a project manager. Uh, At Horizon, consulting the project life cycle includes sales, um, software development, graphics, and account managers in charge of project management endeavors. Of course, the expertise and abilities to work in a collaborative environment, strategize, and finish a project in time are essential elements for an effective project team. For their project developments, Horizon Consulting had a very peculiar strategy. They had a designated color to determine which project makes precedence over the other. Here we have the green, which is the top priority, blue being the second most important, and of course, purple being the least. Once the project priority has been established, then project managers select their project team members and embark on their on-demand project management endeavors. The firm's strategy in the creation of a smart app is to first, for the account managers to meet with their customer to collect the information needed to create the application. To get the functionality and the look of the future application, however, the account manager then works with a graphic user interface designer to arrive at a preliminary board and have a preliminary look and feel of the application. Now we may conclude that uh, basing decisions on project priorities is a sound approach in project management and the most intelligent one given the business nature at Horizon Consulting. On the other hand, the organization's culture assign a color to each project based on its priority, level, and company mission. Again, green being the priority, blue is the second most important, and purple being the least. Um, Adopting the former color designation perhaps eliminated the need to go back and forth to determine which project was assigned as number one priority versus the least relevant based on the company's mission. On the other hand, one believes that the metric structure appears to be the organization's most vivid approach. That is to say, PMs share personnel and resources across the firm's multiple projects and at the same time maintaining a project focus endeavor. As a result, one may conclude that Horizon Consulting labeled the priority and value to its project based on the project size and scope, consequently alluding to what is essential and least to deal with a long list of things to do as a manager. On week number two, we had the on week number three, we have the essential crashing methods. In this, the project with bread appears to be an unachievable endeavor for project manager Bijan. Perhaps the best way to crash this project would be to consider outsourcing and schedule overtime to complete each activity quicker and add resources to cover crash costs. That is, the data provided by project team members Karen and Trikve, they note that their rationale for project crashing is insufficient. Although the data is accurate based on the design print from past race entries and other countries' designs, their course of action does not assert in completing the project on time, which is the goal. Again, due to the time constraint, the with bread team needs to expand its rationale on project crashing and find the best solution to complete the project on time. In the case of Whitbread World Sailboat Race, Karen and Trike make a poor rationale when employing the crashing methods. The project crashing rationale is impoverished because their data demonstrates that they will not be completing the project on time. Thus, they will also be beyond the $3.2 million budget. Also, meeting the deadline is essential for the project manager and a crucial element involved in this project. The project manager's calendar denotes that there are only 45 weeks before the new vessel leaves the port to the United Kingdom to start the race. Therefore, project constraint is time. The project manager must then look for other alternatives to complete the project on time. Again, based on the data submitted by the project team members, the project duration and the crash cost exceeds the time and cost creation criterion under the project's priority metrics. Although the crash time alleviates some of the time denoted under the normal time, it is still not enough to complete the project within 45 weeks before the new vessel leaves for the United Kingdom start race. Although it may increase the cost of the project scope, although it will increase the project cost, critical element for the project manager to consider will be to outsource subcontractors to complete some activities. Subcontracting asserts in completing the activities sooner and free up resources that can be assigned to those critical activities, which is essential in shortening the project duration, thus alleviating the time constraint to complete the project. On week number 4, then we arrive at the project management styles, in this case the MBWA, which is the management by wandering around. MBWA is an essential management style that can be effective in projects. However, Tom Bray's case study showcases that it is not always easy to foster this critical management style. Perhaps the key element in management by wandering around is to build strong ties with key players as in a sports team. After all, a project manager needs to build fruitful relationships with their employees if they desire to achieve trust and effective project collaboration. The Pegasus project is another example that finding the right balance when fostering the MBWA approach is essential and vital for this critical management style to achieve effectiveness. Of course, it is challenging to learn how a project or the entire operations of a business is going to be by being distant or utterly absent from the actual operations, let alone obtain trust and effective collaboration from the team if one does not learn how employees are working, recognize hard and dedicated work, and make sure everyone performing a task has what is needed to be efficient and well-rounded on their work. That is why employee engagement by building a relationship with key players is essential to properly carry out the management by wandering around approach. As a project lead, Tom's decided to improve his people skills, made MBWA an essential skill to delve into. Some of the advantages of fostering the management by wandering around management style assesses in making the project manager more approachable, build trust, increase team motivation, goal encouragement, makes work friendlier once project and organizational knowledge also increases. As a project lead, Tom's desire to improve his people skills made manager by wandering around an essential skill to delve into some of the advantages of fostering the manager by wandering around. Management style assesses in making the project manager more approachable, build trust, increase team motivation, goal encouragement, take work friend, make makes work friendlier. I'm sorry, uh, and the project scope and organizational knowledge also increases. Uh, in the Pegasus project, Tom's first attempt when he ventured into employee engagement appeared to have been a positive response. His second attempt, however, was a total setback compared to the first. When he went back onto the floor, everyone was busy doing their work, which is not a bad thing. However, when he attempted to engage in a conversation, his responses were stiff. After all, one has to achieve mastery in any management style in order for it to work correctly. As a result, without practicing the art of manager by wandering around, one believes that it is almost impossible for it to work perfectly. In other words, Tom's second attempt demonstrated one of the disadvantages of management by wandering around. Employees can feel under a microscope. Therefore, Tom's next move has to have an educated balance between making work friendlier and making employees feel appreciated for what they do without making judgmental leads. On week number 5, we worked on managing international projects. That is in the MX and Hungary case scenario. The title of my assignment here is an international business project. Michael Thomas was a United States citizen, son of a Hungarian mother. Um, he was tasked to establish 10 to 14 gas stations in the Budapest region by his employer MX. Knowing that his career was going nowhere in the US, he was eager to take the project opportunity, of course. However, his overly confident attitude blinded him from adequately anticipating the Hungarian culture, economic factors, political factors, security, and infrastructure um, requirements. He soon realized that although a Hungarian mother raised him, his limited Hungarian language did not allow him to engage with the Budapest locals properly. His limited knowledge of Hungarian's culture also affected him negatively in finding an excellent team to manage MX business in central Budapest. As a result, getting a grasp of the host country's culture can assert in engaging with the locals more effectively. In turn, Thomas may be able to properly negotiate on purchasing or franchising the 10 to 14 gas stations needed by the project's due date. Many challenges arise when a project manager is tasked to complete a project overseas. Some of the essential factors encountered in the host country's environment are its culture, economic factors, legal or political factors, security, geographic location, and infrastructure. The apparent international issues experienced in the MX Hungary projects were closely related to the host country's culture and economic factors. Um, The the MX Hungary project was closely related to the host country's culture. Actually, one of Thomas' issues was that he was unable to adequately staff the Budapest central office. Out of the 16 hired, for uh, for out of the 16 hired, four quit within a week, and six were fired within the probational period due to absenteeism, not performing their tasks, and for their lack of initiative. In addition to not having hired the needed staff to work at the office, Bella, who was Tom's coworker, has informed him that the remodel work at the office was partially completed because they were waiting on the city historian's approval to complete the job. That is to preserve Budapest historian heritage. Another issue experienced by the project manager was when attempting to franchise or purchase 10 to 14 gas stations in Budapest. Um, it appears to be evident that Thomas' lack of international cultural experience deviated the project from progressing effectively to an inevitable regression state. Thomas' inefficient global project handling was also a burden to the project progression. In the dinner conversation with Hungarian businessman Sultan Kodali, Thomas' parochial business dealing was an apparent business dealing turnoff. They had barely finished ordering their meal when Thomas launched his attempt to get down to business. Again, Thomas failed to notice that Hungarian's business culture is relationship oriented. In other words, although the dinner was planned to be the initiation of a possible business deal, in Thomas should have taken that opportunity to get to know Kodali first and allow him to know the MX that MX was a prestigious company to consider doing business with. However, Tom's attempts were contrary to the task at hand. International project managers face many challenges when attempting to initiate, operate, and negotiate the addition of international assets in international projects. The MX Budapest project was of no difference. Project managers, therefore, can benefit more by taking a good, versed international business course that sensitizes their need to understand the forces of change globally and cultural differences. If Thomas had done so before engaging in the MX Budapest project, he would have adequately negotiated the purchasing of or franchising of the 10 to 14 gas stations more effectively. In conclusion to this project presentation and everything learned, one has learned to use the forward and backward strategy properly. One also learned that the latter asserts in identifying the critical paths which are needed to determine the zero slack tolerance. By learning how to crash a project when resources are short properly, the resources are short properly and time constraints, one learned that outsourcing asserts completing a project on time and within budget, depending on the project scope, of course. Thus, determining what the penalty clause is before accepting a project is vital in project management. Preliminary data asserts in forecasting a project. The critical path or paths are revealed when the forward and backward path is employed. Critical paths, however, need to be established in order to determine a zero slack tolerance. Furthermore, crashing a project by outsourcing can assert in completing a project on time. Lastly, one has also learned that the art of management by wandering around is an essential management work style that asserts in building strong ties, which are relevant relationships, obtaining trust, promote fruitful collaboration, and make work friendlier. And these are all the references regarding each and every one of the projects that we have assessed in this presentation. We have a vast array of references that continue here on this presentation. And of course, last and not least, we also used other sources in our references in this presentation. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and thank you for helping me out, Professor Williams, to learn all these different aspects of project management. Have a great day.